Hi guys, today we're going to take a look at Ballarat's Cosmopolitan Gold Mining Company as it was in the year 1864. The Cosmopolitan was an underground alluvial mine which was working on the Golden Point and Cosmopolitan leads. The company was registered in the year 1856 and commenced work early the next year. This brilliant lithograph from the mid-1860s gives us a fantastic glimpse into the workings of the mine, presenting a view of the above-ground structures, the interior of the winding and puddling rooms, and their workings underground. There are quite a few interesting features shown on here, which I'm going to talk about in this video, and I hope you all find it as interesting as I do. So let's start with the poppet head. Now this might look a little different to the poppet heads you would usually see depicted in old photos and drawings, and that's because it's entirely enclosed by walls and a roof. This was very common at Ballarat, and there are lots of photos and artworks from the area showing these enclosed poppet heads. Back in the 19th century, this structure wouldn't have been referred to as a poppet head as we know it today. It would have been called the poppet heads. Strictly speaking, the poppet heads are the crosspieces which support the sheave wheels at the top. As Bro Smythe published in his 1869 Glossary of Mining Terms, in Ballarat the term poppet heads was commonly applied to the entire structure above the shaft and brace, walls and roof included. Historical newspapers do not typically talk about mines putting up a poppet head. They say they put up the poppet heads, or a set of poppet heads. This little area at the top is hiding the sheave wheels that support the winding rope, which in this case is not rope at all. The Cosmopolitan Company was the first to employ W.S. Round's patent flat chain. Round was a skilled Ballarat chainsmith, and he manufactured chains for winding. His flat chain was made using a combination of wood and iron. Winding rope came in many forms and was either flat or round. Ropes, flat chain, flat wire rope, and round wire rope. Round wire rope is still used in winding today. If we take a look inside the winding house of the Cosmopolitan, we can see the interesting winding setup for this flat chain. This style of winding engine was used for flat chain and flat rope, where the chain or rope is wound around itself and held in place by these lengths of wood or metal on either side. These winders could be huge depending on the length of chain or rope required. So, in the sinking of the shaft and development of drives, the winding engine is busily employed raising mullock from underground. This is the worthless waste rock which must be got through to reach the ancient buried riverbed, which is called a deep lead. The mullock is raised to the surface in trucks and then dumped out in lines, which radiate out from the shaft in long fingers. We can still spot these mullock fingers at various mine sites today, and they can range from narrow lines to massive heaps, all fanning out from a single point near the shaft. So the mine sinks their shaft through all this barren material, and they put out drives to get out underneath the old riverbed. Once they reach the wash dirt, they raise it to the surface and put it through their steam-powered puddling machines to process it for gold. Well, now let's take a look underground. The Cosmopolitan shaft was sunk through a few feet of surface soil, 112 feet of first rock, 16 feet of clay, 27 feet of second rock, 7 feet of red clay, and then 200 feet of bedrock, or reef as they called it. You may wonder, what was this first and second rock they sank through? Well, it was basalt. Over time, a series of lava flows covered the ancient riverbeds of Ballarat West, and as the miners sunk through each layer they referred to it as first rock, second rock, third rock, and so on. The Cosmopolitan was lucky. They only had 2 layers of basalt to contend with. We can see that the shaft was sank to a depth of 365 feet, and a main level and an air drive were put out towards the lead. The Cosmopolitan shaft was 7'6" by 3'6" and had 3 compartments, one for hauling, one for bailing water, and one for the upcast of the ventilating furnace, which was located underground. The Cosmopolitan had to drive out 1,640 feet to reach the gutter of the Golden Point lead. That's a long haul, and they obviously weren't too keen on pushing all those trucks by hand, because they brought horses underground to do the work for them. Horses were first employed underground at Ballarat in the new Constitution mine, and many others soon followed. In the Cosmopolitan, we can see their stables underground, and here we have a horse pulling a rake of trucks while a little miner guy gets a free ride. Over here, there's a horse pulling a truck up an incline. We're now about 1,200 feet from the shaft, and we can see a branch drive which says it heads to an engine. The Cosmopolitan had an engine underground to pump water from this blind shaft, which is a shaft commenced from underground rather than at the surface. If we follow the workings along, we come to the gutter at about 1,600 feet from the main shaft, and we can see the miners hard at work along both the Golden Point and the Cosmopolitan gutters. It's very interesting checking out the underground workings of these early deep lead mines at Ballarat, as all of them were winging it to some extent. Their main objectives were to get to the lead, to get the water out, and to raise the wash dirt to the surface for processing. The series of lithographs published by Herman Deutsch show a range of different ways the miners achieved this, overcoming difficulties and sometimes rectifying errors in development. In the Cosmopolitan, we can see that if they had sank their shaft a little deeper, they could have risen up into the wash dirt of the Golden Point lead from below, as they did with the Cosmopolitan lead. They could have dropped the wash dirt into trucks below. They could have avoided loading their trucks by hand, avoided hauling trucks up this incline, and they could have let the water run down to the well of their main shaft by gravity, rather than pumping up from this blind shaft and letting it run down from here. But these difficulties didn't stop them. Through the 1860s, the Cosmopolitan Gold Mining Company produced over 1,300 kilograms of gold. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you found the details on this lithograph as interesting as I do. I'll be doing a few more videos like this one about other mines and their features as depicted by these brilliant images from the 1860s. If you'd like to learn more about the fascinating history of the Victorian goldfields, don't forget to subscribe and turn on notifications.